We like to call it the Supernatural Hour. And now, our host.
Hey, welcome to the Supernatural Hour. I'm Ravyn, one of your hosts.
I'm Rogue.
This is Doc.
This is Chad.
I'm Emmett.
It feels like it's been forever. I don't know why. We release one every 2 weeks. It just feels like it's been
Forever since we podcasted?
forever, yeah.
Probably all together in person.
Yeah.
Yes.
That has been kind of a forever.
That
Yeah.
has been months.
Well, you know what? The technology, the way it is these days, when we Zoom, you can you can tell a little bit of a difference, but the sound quality is actually quite good.
Yeah. But it's nice having everybody here.
But we are all here today, so that's amazing.
All right. The business is brought to you today by the Castle Photo Art Studios and Castle Nature Studio. Get your photo needs through our castle. Peteetneet. We've got a public investigation coming up March 19th. It's a Saturday night. We're returning to Peteetneet School and Museum in Payson, Utah. We were there back in October and had a fantastic event, and we had so many people asking about it and wanting to go that couldn't go last time. So we're excited to go back to Peteetneet in March.
I'm looking forward to that. I had to miss it in October myself.
Oh, you did, didn't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we usually don't hit another venue this close, but I just had people right and left asking me when we were going back, so we thought, we'll do it sooner than later.
It was a lot of fun last time.
Mm-hmm. Very, very active.
It was, and actually that's the one that I will always remember. The spirit was nice to me and unlocked the door so I could come in because it was cold and I wasn't happy about it. They unlocked the door for me. I don't know if the door was unlocked for anyone else throughout the night, but I really appreciated that. So that will go down as the kind ghost spot, I guess, maybe. I don't know.
We'll take good ghosts.
That's the way I think about it. But I guess we had some residentials down in Utah County where Peteetneet is, and I was not able to go, unfortunately.
I did.
Yeah, you did.
I was there too.
Nice.
So the first house was in the Payson area, and it's a home we've actually been to, about a year ago?
Yeah.
Anyway, since then, the homeowner, there's been a breakup, and just some activity. I don't know that she said anything happened per se. No, they did. Just kind of a dark feeling in the house, and they would hear things in cupboards, like things fell, but when they would go to put the thing back, everything would be in place. Did they say anything else? Those are the two things I remember.
Those are mostly the things. The dark feeling, that things were just unsettled.
Yeah. So we did an investigation, and in the master bedroom, there was a ceiling lamp. Not a ceiling lamp. Fan. Ceiling fan. Something that spun that had pulley things.
Sounds like a ceiling fan.
It's been a long day. And so Heather was able to come with us on that one. And we were, we had all of our stuff out on the bed, asking questions, doing an EVP session, waiting for it to come and turn on the K2 meter. And we were looking at the ceiling fan, and it had, they have two poles, one for the light, one for the fan. And one of them just started swinging, and the other one wasn't. And Heather said, I may have bumped that. And so we, made them both still again and tried to get it to recreate it. And I think it did just a little bit, not as heavy as it was before, but it was definitely playing with those
chains,
poles.
or the one chain.
Mm-hmm. But the answers that we were getting, we went into two different rooms because there was two places that we were having activity, and just not getting consistent answers. And one thing that we've noticed is you're either going to get consistent answers, you're going to get nothing. If you get a type 3, or the dark entity, if you've never listened to us before, a type 3 is basically a demonic entity. And, they'll tell you lies, and then a few little discrepancies you'll call them out on. But this one, it was just, there was no rhyme nor reason. But intelligent. I mean, it wasn't just equipment malfunction. And it took us a while, but we thought, you know what? Maybe this is an elemental. Because it kind of, we don't deal with elementals often, and sometimes it takes me a minute to remember that, oh, this is very elemental-like.
They usually don't like to interact with people either unless you've really defiled the land or something.
Right. You know, usually the few that we've run into that have talked to us have been kind of playful, you know, kind of teasing, but, you know, they're not lying to you, but they don't necessarily want to be straight up with you. They kind of, it's almost like an unruly child, you know.
Very mischievous in many places, like that one in Magna.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so when we figured out that, you know, we kind of thought that we thought that that's what it might be. And so then we asked Charles, because we don't jump right to Charles. We like to try to, you know, figure out stuff.
And for those new listeners, who is Charles?
A spirit guide through the dowsing rods.
Okay.
So, you know, after kind of a little bit of a frustrating evening, because we're just not getting, you know, consistent answers. Because, you know, they'd say yes, and then we'd confirm, and no, and then, you know, they were like, we're not getting consistent answers. Yeah, I mean, just back and forth. We finally asked Charles, and he goes, yeah, it's an elemental. And so we asked the homeowner.
The type of elemental?
It was a...
Is it air?
Air. And most of the ones we run into are air. And we'll talk about elementals. It almost made the cut for our spring podcast schedule, but not quite. Maybe fall. Anyway, most of the ones we run into are air. And so to take care of those, you set out little cups of vinegar with black pepper. And it's funny because the homeowner, she said, you know what, I was only going to buy one vinegar, but I had the feeling to buy two. And her house is neat as a pin. Neat.
Immaculate.
As a pin. It looks like you've walked into an R.C. Willey showroom in every room. And so I felt all sorts of guilt putting these little red Solo cups everywhere, you know, in every room. It's like, I feel like I'm defiling your area.
And it looks like there's just been a big party there, too.
Yeah. So, and we kind of think it came in, we think that in the course of the breakup, someone on the other side, you know, that didn't live in her home, the person that she broke up with, we feel like something got sent to her purposely. So, haven't heard back from her, and, you know, sometimes I check on them, sometimes they check in with me. I've just been super busy, and so I haven't had a chance to check in, but she hasn't checked in, and sometimes no news is good news. So we're going to assume that everything is going well.
And if there is an issue, she will get back with us. We've been in contact with her a couple of times over the years.
Yeah, I think we've been to her, different homes of hers, probably
3 times?
3 times in the last 10 years.
Sure seems like Payson is just a hot spot in general.
You know, it is. When Peaches was with us, we took her to Payson one day, and she said it's probably the most haunted place she's ever seen, in Utah anyway. She was seeing ghosts everywhere. It was kind of amazing. So the other investigation was actually just a couple nights ago. One of our Patreons got a hold of us and said, hey, you know, we've got a friend that's having some issues. And so they came out with us. That was fun.
Uh-huh.
You know who you are. And
Big shout out.
I can't think of their Patreon name.
That's not a very good shout out. Just saying. You should know their
It's
name.
like the Gray Jedi or something or other. I mean, yeah.
I can never remember my own children's names half the time. So,
and this patron changes his name.
well, I know what his
pretty-
actual name is.
I know.
I just don't want to say it on air in case he doesn't want it to be said on air. I just can't remember his fancy Patreon name. Anyway,
And they're out to like every investigation.
we love them. We love you. You know who you are. Okay.
Well, that's the last time you'll see him.
One less patron.
So anyway, so we went out to her home. It also was neat and tidy as a pin. She kept apologizing. Oh, it's such a mess. I'm like, holy cow. It was very nice. But she'd moved into this townhome 3 years ago and just had a real ominous feeling. And she'd had a couple different mediums come out. All the mediums told her the same thing. Closed some portals. I don't remember why, but somehow she found out that the person who owned the townhome before her had rented it, and some Ouija board
Teenagers.
activity had taken place. And just the heaviness in the home, I don't think she said there was any activity, just very, very heavy feel. She actually had a daughter that moved out because of it and won't live in the home anymore.
Yeah, she was like 17 or 18.
Mm-hmm.
And this was literally 150 yards from the Jordan River. So water also can play into this too for
Right.
an energy.
And so, anyway, in the course of the investigation, we had
Several of our team members.
several team members were there, and they, we got our Patreon got some activity on the SLS, and it was a little Type 3 that was projecting to be a lot bigger than it was. Everything on the SLS showed him to be very, very small. And most of the stuff in the room that we were in had been moved out because it was the daughter that had moved out. There's a couple blankets in the middle of the floor and some things, but there was nothing that this little Type 3 would have pretend. It's not like, oh, it's trying to make the blankets into a stick figure, or it's trying to make there was nothing there, so we knew it was a spirit. And anyway, through the course of asking questions, the portal that the other mediums had come in and closed had opened up again. And the Type 3 was assisting in opening that. So we asked Charles, what's it going to take to close this and keep it closed? And he basically said a lot of salt and a lot of basil. And then we had one of our investigators with us who does Reiki. And so she put her Reiki energy into it as well. And we think it's closed pretty good. So I told the homeowner, I said, I'm pouring copious amounts of salt and basil all over her floor. I said, you're going to want to keep this here for about a week or two. She's like, I will keep that there forever. She's like, I will never vacuum in that spot ever again.
Yeah, she was not happy in the home from the time that they moved in. It was one of those where she just, and you're excited to get a new home and you're excited to, but she doesn't feel comfortable in her home. In fact, she explained that like she would run from her bedroom down to the kitchen in the morning. She just felt oogie and
Just never
unwelcome.
felt like home at all.
Yeah,
And we could have told that without her telling us, because you start to notice things when you go into people's homes, and she had crosses and stones everywhere. There are a lot of people that are into stones and, religious articles. They'll have a few here or there, but she had them everywhere. And I thought, yeah, she's having a rough time.
How common is it for a portal to open up again like that?
We have it happen every once in a while. Of the ones that we run into, maybe 20%.
It's usually a Type 3 or something getting involved to do it.
Yep. At least the ones that we do. And, someone else could be listening having a different experience, but the ones that we run into, that's what I would say the percentage is.
Now, is there something about a child spirit?
Yeah, so we got rid of the Type 3, and when we first walked upstairs, we could feel the dark Type 3 in the bedroom, but we could feel something else in the bathroom, but it didn't feel malevolent, it just felt like it was hiding, and so we thought, we're going to come back to that. So we got rid of the Type 3, and then we went back into the bathroom, and it turned out it was a child spirit, a little boy, about 9 or 10, and Denise had got those, I don't know what they're called, they look like little cat balls, they're little tiny balls.
That have the flashing LED lights in them?
Like, about the size of a little ball you'd give to a cat to play with.
Yeah, ping pong ball, golf ball size.
Yep.
Yeah,
And if you touch them, they glow.
motion sensor. Yeah,
And these are like red and, not motion sensing, you have to touch it. But, they did kind of a red and blue like a police car. And that little boy loved those. I've got video of him turning those off and on, and he wanted to cross. So he would hide in the bathroom from the Type 3 because the Type 3 was scary. So we crossed him. There was about 3 or 4 other spirits in the home that we didn't talk to, but they wanted to cross. And when we were done, it was amazing how much brighter it was in the house. Just the lighting in there was dim.
It seemed to have a physical additional luminosity in the house.
Yeah. So they were both really good investigations.
All that trouble because a couple of kids played with a board game licensed by Hasbro?
Right.
Right.
How's our TikTok following going?
Good. I actually have I haven't put video up on TikTok for a while. So I've got some video to put up. If you're an avid us TikTok follower, you're going to say Ravyn hasn't put up anything for a while. I started school, folks, and I've had a hard time juggling everything, but I think I've gotten into a vibe.
Getting in a rhythm?
Getting in a rhythm. I thought I was in a rhythm, then I wasn't, and now I am.
Was it a TikTok or YouTube live cast you did last night?
I don't know how to do live YouTube, so it was a
TikTok?
TikTok.
Right.
Okay.
We are also on YouTube. We post our podcast there as well if you want to listen on YouTube.
New postings every Wednesday and, like Wednesday at midnight, midnight Tuesday night, and Saturday morning, midnight, Friday night, midnight, Saturday morning.
And then if YouTube and TikTok and the podcast just don't fulfill your needs, we've got our Advanced Paranormal site as well. That's where our shop is at. You can buy all sorts of supernatural hour and Advanced Paranormal gear.
And see what our next public investigation
That's
is.
right. Tickets for investigations as well, right? Public investigations. So check it out.
Yep.
Okay. We're going to talk about some gear now. Lately, I've been looking into higher resolution than what we're used to. I know it can get pretty pricey to get into night vision and some of the cameras that we use in investigating. And really, every time you want to make a leap in camera technology or features, it seems like you have to spend twice as much to take the next step. But it turns out we can get some pretty good resolution from some budget gear. One thing I do want to tell people, and we've been encountering this lately with some of the cameras, is they're coming out with some really good high def night vision cameras now for not a lot of money, and they're claiming definitions that are really good, but what they don't tell you is you have to use a memory card, an SD card, that is capable of having the data written to it fast enough.
Okay.
For the highest definition formats.
So the high-speed SD cards.
Exactly. Yeah, unfortunately you're not gonna get by with a budget SD card, because if it isn't if you can't write to it very quickly, the camera will default to the highest setting that it can write to that card,
And then you lose
get
the
lower
advantage.
quality.
and it's
you-
lower quality. Right. Yeah. Now, the good news is you can be down to 720 and still be considered high def, but the cameras are capable of so much more, and you're paying for it, so you may as well use it.
And some of these SD cards, even the higher capacity, higher speed SD cards, have come down tremendously. I remember getting like a 4 gigabyte SD card, and it was like $100. And this was a number of years ago. And now there's, 128 gig, and and you can get them for 30, 40
I bought
bucks.
a 256 gig card a couple of days ago on Amazon, $50.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Sizes that were hard drives in computers 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So bear that in mind. You don't skimp on the memory card, or you won't be getting the resolution
That you're paying for.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing to remember is I wanted to talk about the different wavelengths of infrared. You see variously 850 nanometers and 940. Remember that resolution is a function of wavelength. So the higher that number is, the longer the wavelength. So the 940, that's the wavelength where you can't even see the infrared light source. On some of those night vision, you can see a dull red glow. Mm-hmm. Those are the shorter wavelengths, the 840. But for some special security cameras, they don't want that source visible at all. Okay, I'm sure the animals can still see it, but humans can't. But because the wavelength is longer, the resolution is going to be poorer also. So I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but some of those 940 nanometer night vision cameras, they just seem a little soft.
That's why you have those security cameras where you can never identify the facial features of the
Exactly.
individual.
Yeah, exactly. So bear that in mind
so
too.
you want you want the smaller number, the smaller wavelength to get the higher resolution.
Right, exactly.
But what you're giving up there is that the ghosts or entities might be able to see a pale red or blue light as the source.
Right. Yeah, well, or anything else you want to be looking at.
But you get a slightly broader spectrum as well.
Right,
Right,
and
The
you're
further
getting
down
better
you go.
resolution. You know, and conversely, when you're using full spectrum cameras, you're into the ultraviolet, so the wavelengths are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Guess what? Your resolution's getting better and better. You're going to be able to see twice the detail in the ultraviolet that you would normally see in the infrared, just because the wavelength is so much shorter. So, and that's another thing we haven't explored a lot yet, but we're going to be doing more full spectrum work on investigations. And I wanted to mention too earlier, we do have cat balls now, and we'll be bringing
And those
those
cat
too.
balls are fun.
And they're cheap.
They're crazy cheap.
Yeah,
You just touch them and they light up. Is that what you're talking about?
yeah. So that's about it for the gear segment this week. So I hope that's useful to.
Well,
some
I
people
think
with the
that's
cameras.
helpful because I have all those cameras that keep having problems when we're out on investigations.
See, and I think that's the problem.
Might be SD
exactly.
card.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the camera can't. They don't have the biggest buffer memory in there, so if it can't write it right away, you're going to lose data.
Yeah, so now my cameras have just been sitting because I'm so frustrated trying to use them when we're out that I haven't even taken
just-
them out the last few times.
We got to put high write speed cards in them, and
Oh,
I think that'll solve the problem.
have to get that.
Yep.
So thanks.
All right. Before the junk drawer, we just want to remind you again about Supernatural Hour swag that you can get at advancedparanormal.com. Go out and get some cool swag. We've got tapestries. We've got sweatshirts, hats. I wear my Advanced Paranormal hat around all the time.
All the time.
And the Supernatural Hour hat, too.
I got a T-shirt, and I had a mug, and then the handle broke. So now it's just a cup.
A cup.
Yeah, now it's just a cup.
Okay, so you remember a few podcasts ago, we kind of talked about a book. And
Yeah,
it
I
was-
remember.
You remember that one?
Yeah. That was a weird book.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you said a weird book because I didn't like the look on your face.
What book is this?
The Haunted Vagina. Remember we talked
I
about
was
that
just
one?
going to say I remember something about a please.
I don't
tell
think
me
I was
that
here
that's
for
not
this.
What this is about.
You would have remembered.
I'll say.
Oh, yeah.
No, I think it was the three of us on that
Yeah.
special.
Oh, no, you
podcast
couldn't have
episode.
forgotten the Haunted Vagina.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was not here.
I wasn't
Yeah,
there.
you wouldn't forget it.
You won't forget that.
And
And I don't remember what podcast that was on, but it wasn't very long ago. Just listen back if you'll hear it. Okay, this one is actually a good book review of a good book. So Chad and I do a lot of driving sometimes, and we'll pop in, a book on Audible and listen to it when we drive.
Not sponsored by Audible.
Not sponsored by Audible. That's just what we use. That's what we use. And
could be if you're listening.
That's right.
Chad,
We'd be glad to have your sponsorship.
Audible.
Come on, Amazon. Come through for us here.
Chad likes to listen to these end of the world disaster, scare Ravyn a lot books, and so we can't listen to those. He has to listen to those by himself. But
Real life's not scary enough.
No.
no,
Oh.
he loves those books. It drives me nuts. But we listened to this one. It's called A Stitch in Time. It's by #1 New York Times bestselling author Kelley Armstrong, and it was really good. It had ghosts. It had time travel. It had suspense. At one point, I was really frustrated with the book, but kind of a good frustration, and then it resolved, and I was happy. I don't want to give anything away, but I'll tell you what the back of the book says so you have an idea. So there's a manor. It's called Thorn Manor. It's always been haunted, and it's always haunted Bronwyn Dale. It's a no. I'm looking at Rogue's face. That's a
I'm
novel.
just wondering
You have
what
to
this had to
use-
do with the haunted vagina that had to be brought up. So I keep waiting for the side swipe.
No, there's no side swipe.
No,
It's
no,
just-
side side. It's
that one was
this
so
is
bad.
That was a bad one. This is a good
This
one.
is a good one. This is the opposite end of the scale. This is a good review. So there's a time slip, and Bronwyn goes to the time slip. She meets a boy that's about her age back in time. They have a
that are
thing.
like 10 to 15. I mean, for
They-
several years.
Yeah, they kind of get a thing going on. Long story short, 20 years later, the book takes place. And there's a lot of tragedy. They rekindle their friendship. There's ghosts. There's scandal. If you want a good book that has a paranormal element on the complete opposite side of the haunted vagina, you need to check out Kelley Armstrong's A Stitch in Time. It says, haunted by a love that knows no bounds.
So
it was so good I had to buy the hard copy.
So that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You talked about that you listened to it on tape, but you're looking at a book.
Well, because after listening to Chad's book, an MP is going to knock everything out, and then I won't have
Or an EMP.
an EMP. MP? EMP? I don't know what it is. I don't listen to those
EMP.
books.
Well,
They're
there's
scary.
twice as much material in there as on the book on tape anyway, too. They have to edit those down, don't they?
The books on
No.
tape are
It's-
full.
No, they,
Word for word.
they just read them
unabridged.
word for word.
That's impressive.
Yeah, so I bought it so that I
Did you
could
drive to
read
Missouri listening to that, or
It was a 10-hour listen.
yeah?
Yeah, and we'll put it in as we, do a couple of hours here, a couple of hours there.
And in this series, it's not like a series. There's 2 more books that are in the same universe. We're listening to the second one now. The second one, if I give A Stitch in Time 100% A+, the next one, which I can't remember, A Twist of Fate,
Yeah, I think so.
it gets like an 85%. It's not as good. There's a third one. I'll let you know what the
But
third
it's
one is.
moved up from the 65% you were at first.
Yeah, but it's still not very ghosty. The first one's really ghosty, very ghost involved. If you like ghosts, you will like this book. If you are a man, it's a little lovey, but you'll Don like it.
Is
I enjoy it.
time
I'd like
travel
it.
the thread that links it all together?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know about the third book yet. We haven't listened to that one yet.
Okay.
but-
Did the stitch cause the wrinkle in time?
Oh, what an
That's a different
innocent
book.
question.
Different universe.
Okay, just wondering.
Different universe.
Maybe.
Anyway, so
think
for
the
your junk
alien
drawer, you
did
got
it.
an actual, legit, good book review. That's a good one to listen to.
A
Thank
stitch
you.
in time.
Perfect.
Right? Stay spooky, my haunty friends.
Love you, Nicholas.
Have a good one.
Hey, good night.
See you next time.
You've been listening to the Supernatural Hour at AdvancedParanormal.com. The Supernatural Hour is part of the Radio Ronin network found at RadioRonin.com. Copyright by Advanced Paranormal Services.